So this is super unusual. I don't actually know what's going to happen next now. I know that I have to, you know, maybe re-sing some things, maybe like replace a couple of lyrics here and there. But it's a bit unusual. It's a kind of an unusual process for me to kind of go about it this way. I don't usually finish the entire song form this early on. So let's just listen to it. Sometimes stuff like this will happen. Let's like listen to the whole form and see what needs to be added. It's always good to come back to things with fresh ears. I like it. I remember it. That's a good sign.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time. I miss the way life used to be. I'm wondering if it will all be alright. And this is what she said to me. When you get to my age, you'll see a lot of things, but it's okay if you don't see it now. 'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back around.
So right off the bat, I'm like really loving this. I wanted it to be like a single vocal before, but I think the chorus could use some like, I'm trying to think of something that I never do. Like usually I layer whole like oohs and stuff down on the chorus, but I never really do them on like individual words like Sam Smith, like stay, da, da. So maybe, will that sound good? You always have to like play it back in your head to see.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable.
Let's try it, and if it doesn't work, we can just say we tried it, but I think it could work. Let's see. So I want to just like a very percussive, like, well, one day, and like reverb it out and stuff.
'Cause one day you'll know.
I don't want the harmony notes to go higher than the melody, if that makes sense. Because I don't want that. Then the melody becomes ambiguous and people don't really know what to sing along to. Like, we'll stack the hell out of these, and then it'll kind of be in the background just like as a little bit of support. But I never do stuff like this, so.
What if you don't see it? 'Cause one day.
Let's see what this sounds like.
What? 'Cause one day you'll.
Just like very, very short. Normally I'd go, one day, ooh.
One day.
But right now we're just gonna drag these down here.
One day.
1, 2, 3.
'Cause one day you'll.
Next couple.
One day. One day.
Kind of hit an F there, hold on.
'Cause one day you'll. 'Cause one day. 'Cause one day.
Ooh, that'll be nice. One.
'Cause one day. 'Cause one day you'll.
Ooh.
'Cause one day. 'Cause one day. 'Cause one day. One day.
Make it a little bit lower.
One day. One day.
It's like not completely a minor, it's like a sus or a sus chord or something.
'Cause one. 'Cause one day.
A, C, E, P, T, G.
'Cause one day, 'cause one day,
I'm just gonna double the lead.
'cause one day, you'll, 'cause one day,
One more.
'cause one day, you'll,
Nice. One more.
one day, you'll know, you'll know, you'll know, you'll know,
Sing into the note.
you'll know that you'll know that everything,
It's gonna be so nice.
you'll know that you'll know, you'll know, you'll know that
So like very Doobie Brothers ish, kind of like ballad Doobie Brothers.
you'll know that you'll know, you'll know that you'll know, you'll know that you'll know that you'll know, you'll know that you'll know that you'll one day you'll know,
Just a little bit, and I'd probably even make it just like a little bit lower.
one day you'll,
Reverb up.
one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's never,
And same thing on that. Inevitable. You're splitting up the words, so you gotta like super pronounce it so it doesn't get lost in the sauce. Like, what the hell is he saying?
round. It's never round.
Little singing trick too, if you really want to super pronounce something. My friend Ross Golan told me this. He's a really good songwriter. He told me this 5 years ago. Just like over smile, like creepy dude at Disneyland smile.
One's never
And then it gets the super high-end sibilance out.
round. It's never round. It's never trouble that every round. It's never, it's never trouble that every, it's never,
Nah.
it's never trouble that it's never trouble, it's never trouble that every, it's never,
And just the last note.
it's never trouble that every, it's never trouble,
Nice.
it's never trouble that every, it's never trouble that everything comes back around. Comes back around.
And let's lead into those oohs, just with like, these are just like bridge transition little oohs. Little bits of ear candy, because you don't want to go too complicated on something like this.
Comes back around.
That's kind of nice. Sick.
Comes back around.
Harmony.
Comes back around.
Oh shit, should I do for the... I did C's here. One more. Making those harmonies super, super full and thick.
Everything comes back.
Starting on the C's.
Everything comes back around.
Just another layer. Let's see what that sounds.
Everything comes back around.
I think one more note. Let me just hear. It's a... So we're going to the A minor, so you have to remember not to go to the F on the bottom.
Comes back around. Comes back around.
Bass note.
Everything comes back around. Comes back around.
Got to go way down there now to the low C. It's going to be super filling. That was hella uncomfortable on the theme. On the theme of going uncomfortable, that was hella low, but it sounded nice. I just had an idea. Omnisphere. That's so I don't forget it. Now it kind of sounds like the Beach Boys kind of harmonies. One more, let's see.
Everything comes back around.
Ooh, you know what we can do? Okay, so let's say those are really, really good. And away. Let me just copy and paste these over here first before I lose my train of thought.
One day you'll know.
Oh, listen to the difference. Alone? So I was wrong. I thought, oh, it has to be alone.
One day you'll know.
Listen to it now.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes.
Like I hate it because it's like so wishy-washy and everything, but I love it because it's something like completely like that I would probably never do, but that's how you push yourself. This is
It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back around.
here you go, like endless possibilities. Okay, so these are really good, but there's a way to make them thicker. It's a really, really good trick to know. I did it once, and now I will do it another time in a song. You open up something like Omnisphere, or whatever has like a lot of like great vocal samples. Very, very powerful. Go to Sample in A and isolate all your samples. Human voices. I used Japanese Schoolboy Choir on See You Again. Pharrell uses this all the time on his songs. Yeah, that was weird. Maybe that humming kind of it could be just as like a lick.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's never.
That's actually awesome. Okay, so we don't want it to be overpowered, so. See how it like cuts off? So the whole purpose right now is like layering your voice.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
See how it cuts off though? So I want to record all these separately, and then we're going to do some custom fades on them. It's like its own little release. So clean. Do a little suspended. No, that wasn't. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so print these. We're gonna kind of just like hide these into the to the other ooze.
Everything comes.
So.
One day you'll.
Just do a little fade out.
One day you'll know.
Kind of the same value.
One day you'll know that everything comes back around.
Fade out here.
Around. It's an
I don't want those suspended chords anymore. Just simple.
inevitable that everything comes back around.
Fill in all these crossfades here. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. I want to fade these things.
'Cause one.
But they're still, I want them to kind of like meld into each other. So just, you know, just throw a little delay on. Take the feedback down. You can do this in H delay too. I'm just using this one. But maybe you can automate it, but maybe just put it on a different track for some extra control because I still want the particular type of delay on here. Clean. And then you just repeat it. There's
I try so hard.
Then you have some dynamics.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around.
Maybe now, so now that that's in there, I kind of have another thing. You want it to like have rhythm without rhythm. That's kind of what we were doing like when we put the tremolo on the noisy roads a little bit, but I think we can take that one step further. What is that one? Actually, let's stay in Omnisphere. I think let's go to synths. Let's go to the. Let's try this. It's a little bright, so. Something really like a weekend bass or something. Like enough versatility to like move it around.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable.
It's nice and deep. It's like normally I wouldn't go down that far, but that's kind of nice down there. It gives it some attitude.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes
I want to go up on that octave there. He said,
everything comes back around. Everything comes back around. I try so hard.
I like that dichotomy, like super deep and then into just bam, nothing. It's super weird.
One day.
Kind of goes well. Sometimes I'll do active mixing. Let's print this.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. 'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that
I like what it did. Okay. Commit it. Forget about it. Phineas produced this song for Selena Gomez called Lose You to Love Me. It also didn't have like a rhythm section, but it was really ingenious because it had like just kicks and just the pizzicatos on the strings. That might be where the strings could come in. They were kind of acting as active snares. So we could do that here as well.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
Great kick that everybody should use always and forever. The big head number 2. Works with everything. Oh, baby. Maybe we'll muffle it a little bit.
'Cause one.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
'Cause one.
Let's take some top out of it. Sound like that. Just a heartbeat.
'Cause one day.
Something kind of important here before we do that. Something important you want to do. This I'm playing an A here. Well, that's the bass. That's kind of like the resonance is like a C sharp to a D, so you might want to just like to make it blend even better with the bass. Just pitch it down. It's A, sharpen it a little bit. It'll naturally get longer, so just kind of trim it up a little bit. A. Now try it.
'Cause one.
It just tucks it in a little bit nicer.
'Cause
then you can kind of.
'Cause one day you're. 'Cause one day. 'Cause one day.
One more.
'Cause one day. 'Cause one day you'll know that
Oh, and put the kicks all on here.
that everything comes back around. That everything comes back around. One day.
Maybe kicks like this. Just play around with it.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
Let's building it. Something with a little swing, maybe. Try like. Ding.
One day, one day, one day,
Just drag it. Oh, you know, it sounds very robotic. But boom.
one day, one day,
Different value.
one day.
It might not seem like a difference, but when you're kind of putting another kick before another kick, it might make sense to just gently pitch it down ever so slightly. Might not make a huge difference, but
One day,
boom.
one day, you'll
Make it a little less open.
one day,
Even more.
one day,
Transient down.
one day, one day,
Hey, there we go.
one day, you'll one day, you'll know
Maybe just another one here. I don't know.
that everything comes that everything.
We'll just make a separate kick track here. Kicks are, I guess, I didn't anticipate this, but kicks will be the main drum focal point here.
You'll know that everything comes back around. Know
Is this too much?
that everything comes back. Everything comes back. Everything comes back around.
Oh.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Let's see what that sounds like as a loop. You don't want to get too crazy.
'Cause one day.
That's too much.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it?
Is that fly?
That everything comes back around. Isn't it?
Might be a little much.
Isn't it? Isn't it? One day.
I wonder.
One day you'll know.
I don't hate that.
'Cause one day you'll know that.
Ooh.
One day you'll know that everything comes back around.
I kind of fuck with that.
One day you'll know that everything comes back around. Everything comes back. One day you'll know that you'll know that everything comes back around.
For some reason, it doesn't feel good there. Maybe it's because of where the song is doing. But if I take it.
Everything comes back around. Isn't it?
Dun, 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 dun. I think it's calling for.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That moves so much better.
Isn't it?
See? You never know. I'm just getting too comfortable.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable.
It's a very,
that everything comes back.
It's a very, very Benny Blanco kind of thing to do.
Inevitable that everything comes back around.
And then we have that extra 4 bar here, so we insert this.
Everything comes back around.
Or maybe we don't need anything there.
Everything comes back around. I try so hard to not get down on myself and not to take things for granted. I begged her, wishing I could go back in. When you get to my age, you'll see a lot of things, but it's okay.
Is it cool if the drums are in here? Let's see. I don't know.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time. I miss the way life used to be. I begged her.
I like that. I'm keeping it.
One day you'll.
This needs to have a little. Let's use the one knob. One knob pumper. How do you spell knob? One. Oh, there's one.
Cause one. That everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around. You'll see a lot of things, but it's okay if you don't see it now. 'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back to my.
Didn't think it was gonna go this way.
Everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back around.
Kind of like has a SG Lewis. Why am I talking like that? It has like an SG Lewis warm kind of vibe to it.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time. I miss the way life used to be. I'm wondering if it will all be alright. This is what.
So I guess the point, like we started off like a little uncomfortable and then kind of slowly got back into comfortable land, but ended up making something that I don't think I would usually make, which is exactly what I want you to do.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time. I miss the way life used to be. I'm wondering if it will all.
One thing you can do too to make your kicks not sound so stagnant, just go to Splice and type in vinyl or something. Ooh, that kick has some little shh at the end of it. Take it. I actually like the beginning of this. I might save that for something else. Like you know how the front of this kick has like a little whoomp to it? Maybe.
I begged her.
Kind of make it rhythmic. Ooh, that's nice. So I took the front of the old kick, and now when you play it together, before, it's good, but little character.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in.
And put it on like every fourth one.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time.
Or maybe every second one?
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time.
Too much. Sweet.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time. I miss the way I could in time. I miss the way in time. I miss the way in time. I miss the way in time.
So we just have like some little, I did that on the tension kick too, just a little. Makes a difference. White noise essentially.
I begged her, wishing I could go back in time. I miss the way life used to be. I'm wondering if it will all be alright. And this is what she said to me. When you get to my age, you'll see a lot of things, but it's okay if you don't see it now.
Take the little scratchies out there.
See it now. 'Cause one day.
Great trick. Max taught me. Just delete everything there. Makes everything hit.
'Cause one day.
Do little appropriate fades.
'Cause one day. 'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes. Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
Moving the strings on the second half.
It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back
You could do, oh, that's kind of a cool little melody you can do with the strings. Blum, 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 blum. Put this back into contact for the strings. Pizzicato. Blum, blum, blum. They have a great built-in compressor in here. Where the heck is it, though? Performance? Oh well.
You'll see a lot of things. You'll see a lot of things, but it's okay if you don't see it now. 'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. Isn't that
Something.
You'll see a lot of things, but it's okay if you don't see it now. 'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
You know, it sounds like Enya now. It's like. Something.
You'll see. 'Cause one day.
Let's get.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back around. I try so hard to
Just like a little flavor.
'cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable.
So I want these little on this MIDI here. I hate MIDI in Pro Tools so much. You do. Ba-bum. So you gotta just highlight that and take that off quantize. Dun, 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 dun. Ugh. Yeah. And then you have something like this, which is you take care of it.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around.
Okay, let me just add a couple more things here.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
And sometimes I love to put the 808s in contact because it makes it this nice little, it gives it this nice little piano roll. So keep contact open. What's a really good one? Oh my God, Ronnie has a really, that's nice. Kind of sounds like mine. I think it's better though.
If you don't see it now, 'cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around.
So some of these are like. Let me do it with the click. There. Sometimes like I just like to elongate one note, and to do that, Pro Tools has like a really good audio stretch mechanism.
One day you'll
Polyphonic could start it off there.
one day
That's good with me. X form. Boom. Commit. Ding, ding.
day you'll know that one day you'll know that everything comes.
Did a little like that. Ding, ding. And there's the loop right there. I don't even need to pay attention to anything else.
One day you'll
I just realized I didn't even quantize these.
one day you'll know that
Bing, bing.
know that everything comes back around. Back around. It's back.
Ding.
Isn't it round? Round. Round.
Boom. Go around. Boom, ding, ding, ding.
It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back around. I try so hard to not get down. 'Cause one day you'll know that.
Maybe something I wouldn't normally do on an 808. Spirit of being uncomfy, maybe.
That everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around.
Can you imagine if it like sounded super distorted, the whole mix?
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around.
There's something dope about that. Maybe not, but
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that.
okay, let's make sure your bass and your 808 aren't clashing. Listen to it low. It's kind of dope.
One day
It might be hot.
that everything comes back around.
Or maybe no 808.
One day you'll know that everything comes back.
Lower the 808, bring up the little bass.
It's inevitable that everything comes back around.
You know, I might not even know where does it sound just dope as this.
'Cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable that everything comes back around. Everything comes back around.
I tell you, all this extra shit doesn't mean nothing. It does not make it better. I promise. That's the realization I'm coming to right now. I could mute all. It's just extra. It doesn't sound good. Like I could use the strings.
'Cause one
Yeah, but like
'Cause one day,
no, like that doesn't sound good. It's
'cause one day you'll know that
it's just too much. It doesn't need it.
one day you'll know that everything. 'Cause one day,
I'll keep the bass, if anything.
'cause one day you'll know that everything comes back around. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I promise. Like that, it doesn't need anything else. Like that, all that extra shit just kind of convolutes it. It doesn't sound good. Okay, so I think that's a great place to end that section there. You know what I'm really glad happened? I started adding too much stuff. And I never want you to think that like, oh, every decision I make is a perfect thing and it's all gonna be like, I make mistakes too. And I was thinking that like I got too carried away. Like it started off good and then I started getting a little too comfortable and like doing things that I would normally do, like add some rhythm to it, but it just didn't need it. The song is kind of like speaking for itself in a way. And I think it's really gonna come to life when everything's like super polished and everything. It's just, sometimes less is more. That's what my art teacher used to tell me when I used to put too much Elmer's glue on my starfish when I was trying to just make something cool for my mom. So I encourage you to go crazy, add a bunch of kicks, add almost too much stuff, and then subtract, which is harder to do. I encourage you to do that. That's what I did here, and I think the song ended up better, much simpler. All that other stuff was convoluting, getting in the way of the lyrics and stuff. So that's what I encourage you to do right now, and I'll see you for the next lesson, and I can't wait to hear what you come up with. We're going to fine-tune things now.